2023. We begin the service by singing our opening hymn, which is Standing on the Promises. It's hymn number 35 on page 27 in your hymn books.
Standing on the promises of Christ my King, through eternal ages let His praises sing. Glory in the highest heaven shout and sing, standing on the promises of God. Standing, standing, standing on the promises of God my Savior. Standing, standing, I'm standing on the promises of God. Standing on the promises that cannot fail. When the holy song of God will sing, by the living God the world shall praise. Standing on the promises of God. Standing, standing, standing on the promises of God my Savior. Standing, standing, I'm standing on the promises of God. Standing on the promises that now can see. Perfect grace and cleansing in the blood for me. Standing in the liberty that Christ makes free. Standing on the promises of God. Standing, standing, standing on the promises of God my Savior. Standing, standing, I'm standing on the promises of God. Standing on the promises of Christ the Lord. Come to Him eternally, my love strong Lord. Overcoming daily with the Spirit's sword. Standing on the promises of God. Standing, standing, standing on the promises of God my Savior. Standing, standing, I'm standing on the promises of God. Standing on the promises that cannot fall. Listening every moment to the Spirit's call. Resting in my Savior as my all in all. Standing on the promises of God. Standing, standing, standing on the promises of God my Savior. Standing, standing, I'm standing on the promises of God.
Please be seated. I'll request the headmaster, Mr. Radcliffe, to read to us from the Bible.
The Bible reading this morning is taken from Romans chapter 12. Therefore, I urge you, brothers and sisters, in view of God's mercy, to offer your bodies as a living sacrifice, holy and pleasing to God. This is your true and proper worship. Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Then you will be able to test and approve what God's will is, His good, pleasing, and perfect will. For by the grace given me, I say to every one of you, do not think of yourself more highly than you ought, but rather think of yourself with sober judgment, in accordance with the faith God has given to each of you. For just as each of us has one body with many members, and these members do not all have the same function, so in Christ we, though many, form one body, and each member belongs to all the others. We have different gifts according to the grace given to us. If your gift is prophesying, then prophesy in accordance with your faith. If it is serving, then serve. If it is teaching, then teach. If it is to encourage, then give encouragement. If it is giving, then give generously. If it is to lead, do it diligently. If it is to show mercy, do it cheerfully. Love must be sincere. Hate what is evil. Cling to what is good. Be devoted to one another in love. Honor one another above yourselves. Never be lacking in zeal, but keep your spiritual fervor, serving the Lord. Be joyful in hope, patient in affliction, faithful in prayer. Share with the Lord's people who are in need. Practice hospitality. Bless those who persecute you. Bless and do not curse. Rejoice with those who rejoice. Mourn with those who mourn. Live in harmony with one another. Do not be proud, but be willing to associate with people of low position. Do not be conceited. Do not repay anyone evil for evil. Be careful to do what is right in the eyes of everyone. If it is possible, as far as it depends on you, live at peace with each other. Do not take revenge, my dear friends, but leave room for God's wrath. For it is written, "It is mine to avenge, I will repay," says the Lord. On the contrary, if your enemy is hungry, feed him. If he is thirsty, give him something to drink. In doing this, you will heap burning coals on his head. Do not be overcome by evil, but overcome evil with good.
Thank you, Mr. Ratcliffe. The principal's address on this morning, every year, is meant, of course, to be directed towards the captains and prefects for the year. But it's an extremely difficult address because it's also for each one of you and each one of us on the stage, because everyone is called upon to lead in some way or the other, and definitely Wynberg-Allen intends that you go out into the world and lead. You show the world the way. And it's extremely difficult to not only speak on this, but even to myself. That makes it the most difficult as well. It's a time for introspection, and whatever I think about and whatever I read and decide to talk about, it actually makes me feel very uncomfortable as to all the different areas in which I think that, well, I'm failing. I thought today I'll do something a little different, and I think I read a fascinating book. I normally read fiction, like I keep saying at assembly, but I read a book that wasn't fiction. It's called Inspirational Leadership. Someone gave it to me, an ex-student actually, so I was flipping through it in the holidays. And I came across one chapter that really stood out. So today I thought I could talk about the things that I think all of you have heard so many times at assembly. About humility, about service, all the things that Wynberg-Allen stands for. But this is the same, but it's put very differently. I think it actually helps, in my opinion, and I hope I can do justice to what beautiful thoughts the author actually shared. It was quite fascinating. It's a totally different approach towards what leadership is about. I think it sort of seeks to address the burning question that all our young leaders ask me year after year, which is basically, how do we manage? How do we take care of this problem? How do we deal with the situations that are so very hard? And this chapter actually made it quite clear to me as to what the problems really are. So let me just take out a few points from this chapter and try to go through them. In 1968, in the Vietnam War, way before all of your time, of course, I'm sure some staff will know about it, but if you've read about it, it's quite a famous war that was fought between the United States of America and Vietnam, North Vietnam in particular, which America didn't win in spite of their might and muscle. In 1968, the Vietnamese generals launched what came to be known as the Tet Offensive, TET. Now, Tet in Vietnam was their new year, the Lunar New Year. And traditionally, no fighting took place on the New Year. But the Vietnamese generals thought that maybe this time they have an opportunity to end the war once and for all. So they decided to attack the Americans at 125 places, locations across the country of Vietnam, of course, where the war was being fought. 125. And they prepared 85,000 troops, and they were pretty sure that the Americans would be caught unawares because no fighting ever took place, and they launched this attack. However, the United States repelled each and every one of the 125 attacks, every single one. Not one of them succeeded, even though it was a surprise attack. The Vietnamese lost, I think, 35,000 of their troops, and the Americans lost 1,000 only. Now, if you think this was leading up to saying what great leadership or something happened, that the Americans didn't lose too many soldiers, then they sad, and they managed to repel every attack. That's not what the author, by the way, who was American, is getting at. He said even during the war, the Americans won almost every single battle that they fought against the Vietnamese army. Every single battle. Maybe one or two they lost, but they won everything. But yet, they lost the war. It's a famous war, for those of you who don't know it. The mighty United States of America, with all their technology, could not win. So how is it that someone can lose every battle and yet win the war, or in reverse? Well, win every battle, yet lose the war. And the author comes up with this very clever insight into this. He said, you know what? The Vietnamese were not playing to win the battle. They were fighting for their lives. The Americans were fighting to win. They wanted to win, that's it. The Vietnamese just wanted to stay alive. He then refers to a book which actually is the entire fulcrum of what I wanted to talk about today anyway. There is a person called James Casey who wrote a book, The Infinite Game. And in this game he talks about the fact that there are two types of games in the world. One is the finite game and the other is the infinite game. The finite game is like soccer or hockey, or all the games that are taking place these days. And a finite game is played between two or more people. There are a fixed set of rules. There may be a referee. Everybody knows what the rules are. People play to win. At the end of the game, the points are totaled, or the scores are taken, or the goals are counted. And somebody wins, somebody loses, and everybody goes home. And it's a very stable game because everybody knows what's happening, and that's it. In the infinite game, which is more closely related to life, there are no rules and there are no fixed sets of players. So it's not very stable because nobody knows what exactly is going on. And in the first example, in that introduction about the Vietnamese war, the Vietnamese were playing the infinite game. They weren't playing to win or lose, they were just playing to survive. They wanted to outlast. And the only way that someone can end an infinite game, infinite, you all know what it means. It carries on forever. The only way that it can end is that one of the players either gets too tired playing, or fighting, or carrying on, whatever you want to say, and drops out of the game, or that player doesn't have any more resources left to continue in the game. There's no time to go into all of this, but for example, the Cold War that is supposedly ended between Russia and the United States is also an infinite game. because it just carries on, there are no rules and it carries on forever. But why talk about an infinite game? The author says that that's something that actually is about life and leadership. The people, the leaders who are really successful, he's taken many names. I've got some examples that I can remember from the top of my head, some there's no time for, but they're very, very famous people in history. This is more related to business, but the Steve Jobs of this world thought about an infinite game, and I've got one or two more examples that are coming through. But that's why you started with this. So leadership is about not really playing a final game. It's not about winning every battle. It's not about making sure that everybody conforms. It's not about brute force. It's not about strength. It's about outlasting everyone and making a difference. Let me just go through these examples. I just noted down these 5 from the chapter. He carries on after this introduction that he writes about the infinite game and the finite game. He says that there are 5 things that you need in life to succeed as a leader. Whether it's a business or an institution like our case. The first one is just cause. I'll come back to them. The second one, building a trusting team. Third, a little surprising, but it relates to having an infinite game, having a worthy rival or rivals. Existential flex, very difficult word, but I'll come back to it. It's actually the simplest and the most interesting, I think, and I'll come back to that, of course. And the last one, which you heard many, many times, and of course, is courage. So, very, very quickly to go through this, just cause. Like I've already said, the courage, the strength to outlast, not to give up, not to treat life or leadership like one battle that has to be won every minute by imposing your own will on everybody else. It's actually to have a just cause, which is to believe in your institution, your organization. When you go out into the world, you'll be leading companies, or maybe you'll be in government or whatever else, but you'll be in positions of leadership. So having a just cause, believing in what you're doing, believing in the institution, believing in the values that are held, and upholding them right through, no matter what. An example in the business world is having a just cause is when people stay and choose to work in an organization even though they might get a much higher salary somewhere else or better benefits. But people who choose to stay and work in one place because they believe that what they are doing, they believe they are making a difference. The second thing is building a trusting team. Pretty simple to understand, but very, very important. Can you build a team? This time I'm speaking especially to the prefects, a team, an environment, and it applies to the teachers and everyone else as well, but today to you. Can you build a team that has trust? Trust that they are free to approach and share their problems. Most importantly, free to own up when they make a mistake without the fear of punishment, of sarcasm, of humiliation. That's what a trusting team is. Can you empower people to work to the just cause, not fearing what will happen if things go wrong, not hide. Otherwise, you have people who are frightened. In fact, in the book, if I remember, there are 2 or 3 very good examples. I'll take the shortest one. The author refers to an incident that happened in United Airlines in the United States some years ago, maybe about, I think, 7 or 8 years ago. I read about it that time as well. The airlines did what many airlines do and overbooked the flight. And then, I'm not a frequent flyer by any means, quite the opposite. But I believe then there's this custom all over the airlines that they say, please leave your seat. We'll give you a voucher, we'll upgrade you to first class next time, we'll give you so many points. But there's not enough seats, so you leave. There was a doctor on that flight. He is of Vietnamese origin, but an American citizen. And he had to go and attend the conference and meet some patients very urgently. And they asked him to leave because he was one of the last bookings. And he refused. Well, what actually happened is not really known. But the airlines, there was an altercation, he got angry, they got angry, and then the airlines called security, and there were these headlines and images flashed all over the world He was dragged off the plane with 2 teeth broken, his nose bleeding, and severely injured. And of course, he went to court to sue them and whatnot, and everybody said this is right and that is wrong and whatever. But the point is, the author says that he pitied the crew of that airlines. The steward and the stewardesses and the captains and the co-pilot and everybody else over there. Because he said each and every one of them knew that what was happening was wrong. But not one of them had the courage to speak up. Why? Because obviously he says that United Airlines had not built a trusting team. They were scared. They were scared that action would be taken against them if they stood up and spoke against what was obviously wrong. And he carries on with this, and it's a rather long point and very interesting, and he just compares it to other airlines, like he says, according to him, that's an American point of view, and I said I don't fly. Why? They like to fly Emirates or Virgin Atlantic or some other airlines or Southwest, and not an airline like United, which is American, by the way. But he says that they obviously don't have trusting teams, and that's not the kind of environment that actually helps anyone. The third point is having a worthy rival. And again, it ties into the first part of this, about the infinite game. If you treat every opportunity, every game, every minute as a competition, then it's ugly. And it's only for the minute. You can win the competition, but that doesn't do any good. The people who are really good and make a difference know that it's for the long haul. It's for the future. And a worthy rival means not just trying to say, I'm going to beat them, I'm going to do better, and I'm going to make sure that I win. And there are lovely examples for this. I'm skipping them all because I want to go to the second last and the last one, which is the most important in this. But there's an example in this which applies not to leadership alone. It applies to each one of us and the mistakes we make. He gives one little example. He's got very specific business examples of Steve Jobs and the other people from business and big, very important stories. But he gives a simple illustration that if 2 runners are running, people who want to play a finite game, and one runner wants to win, so he trips the other runner. And I was reminded of things when we make little mistakes, when we cheat in examinations, when we take shortcuts. Finite versus infinite. He says if that runner trips the other, yes, he will win that race. But he doesn't become a faster runner. He still stays a slow runner. So we need to have, Wynberg-Allen needs to have worthy rivals, ones that we can learn from, ones that show us where our shortcomings are and so we can work to improve them. Not worry about that one moment where we put them down, win, and do better in our minds, and then carry on. But think about that in life, we need worthy rivals. At this point, maybe it doesn't really seem that this is talking so much about leadership, but we're coming to that. Then at this fourth one that he said, difficult word for maybe some of you, existential flex. But basically what does it mean? He means being flexible and adapting to change and accepting it. Now you've heard this before, but it's very, very difficult. And like I said in the beginning, the age-old burning question of how do we deal? In the past this happened. Why can't we do this? We should be able to do this. Because those things happen, but if you are an infinite player, you are here to make a difference, to improve upon the systems of the past and make a change. I will take 2 of the examples that I read about this over here, about making a change. I think everyone relates to it as well. All of you, not all, but many are fans of a company that does extremely well, Apple. And whether it's doing well now or not is not really the point, but Steve Jobs became quite legendary with his style of leadership. So the story goes, a true story, Steve Jobs with a team went to visit a company called Xerox Park. Xerox is a very familiar and popular name to people, some of us on the stage and older people, maybe not to you. Xerox doesn't, it's still there, but it's obviously lost ground. What had Xerox done? This is before the iPhone and all this. Apple was just starting. but they had already made some success and they had made a lot of money, but they had invested it in different places and they went to see what Xerox was all about. And the people at Xerox showed them a new thing that they had come up with. They showed them something that was called, I'm sure the computer students know, the GUI, the graphical user interface. And they were very proud and they said, just see, you've got these folders and you can take this device called a mouse and you can move them around on the screen. Before that, which is absolutely shocking to you, you had to learn a programming language, you had to type commands in DOS. I won't go into a computer lesson, but Jobs and his team were fascinated by the wonder of using pictures to use a computer. And that was Steve Jobs' just cause. He wanted to change the way the world thought. He wanted the common man, it wasn't just to make money. He wanted the common man to stand up, have a computer, and be able to do business or to get information, use it himself without being bullied by the government of the United States or by the big players, business people. Anybody could be empowered if people could have access to this computing device. So they were working on that. That was his vision, his just cause. And he was fascinated and he saw instantly that this is great. This is what I've been dreaming of. And he went out and he told his team, we need to invest in that now. And his team, all the wise people there said, no, this is very good, but don't be silly. We just invented millions of dollars in other technology. And if we do this, it will be the same as blowing ourselves up. And you know what, this is a real answer, what Jobs said. It is better that we blow ourselves up rather than others blow us up afterwards. And he went ahead, invested in that technology, and the result was the Macintosh computer, what you use nowadays, the Mac, the MacBooks, the Mac Air, the other Macs. And it changed the world. In fact, Windows is just a copy of all those interfaces that Xerox had developed. But that's not the point. But Steve Jobs' point was that better we blow ourselves up and make a change, even though it seems like absolutely foolish and the world will laugh and it might seem like a waste or a futile activity, but better we blow ourselves up and make that change when it's necessary. Not just it happened in the past and we can't do it, it's too dangerous. And the second example also from existential flex, so being flexible and changing, again from the past and from computers and photography. I don't know how many of you know these facts. Well, there was one company that was ruling the world, Kodak. They made films and they were developed in dark rooms and so on. And one of the owner/director, the people who founded it, George Eastman, is also famous for Eastman color and movies and so on. In about 1975, Kodak developed digital technology, the digital camera that's in every phone and your digital cameras. And you know what they did with it? Nothing. Because they were scared. In fact, George Eastman said that if we provide this technology and use it now, it will finish our sales of film. They sold millions and millions of those film rolls and said we lose our profits. So they sat with it and did nothing. They knew that they had about 10 years before anybody else, 10 years, before anybody else would catch up and develop digital technology. So during that time, what did they do? They sat back and they sold millions of films and they made a lot of money and they said we made a great decision. After 10 years, digital technology arrived and other companies came into the game and they started developing digital cameras and film sales started going. But Kodak made a lot of money by using their patents. They patented the technology, so people had to pay them. And they made billions of dollars. And it all sounded good. But then, as it took over, their profits began to fall because other companies had become stronger. And in short, like Steve Jobs had said, other companies blew them up. They didn't want to blow themselves up in the first place. Take the hard decision and make a difference, not worry about the past and what people would say and what profits will go. Other companies blew them up and Kodak went bankrupt. Now I don't know if you've heard of them nowadays. So, the last thing, courage, the most important. And over here, I hope that I'll make sense and go back to the finite versus infinite game. which really had a big impact on me. In fact, when I read it, I felt goosebumps because it is so wise, it's so simple and so profound at the same time that is quite stunning. Everything that I've said so far, that do this, change the world, grow yourself up, make the difference, stand up for the right, whatever, is incredibly difficult. Let there be no mistake about that. It verges on the impossible actually, and anyone who's been in any leadership position knows how difficult it is. It's incredibly difficult. But what we need, and I'm talking we, I mean each one of you in class 7, we need a long-term mindset. It takes tremendous courage to lead, it takes tremendous courage to make a difference. And the problem is that sometimes we think that we are in a finite game. And that's the way human beings are. In fact, most leaders around the world of any kind think they are playing a finite game. It's about winning this battle or losing it. And they think that that's making a difference. But the infinite mindset, the leader who thinks that he's here for the infinite game, like the Vietnamese who won the war. They didn't mind losing all those battles, but they hung in there. They wanted to do it long term. So now, coming to you, you have a very short time, like most leaders in this world. It seems very finite. You got a year to make a difference, and that maybe is where sometimes the problems occur, that we got to do this now. So there's finite and there's infinite. So which one do you want to be? And I'll come to what the difference is. Obviously, you've got this limited time, and obviously, by the very definition of the word, what do you want to do in life with your leadership positions in the future and now? Is it finite or is it infinite? Obviously, life itself, by its very definition, is finite. We are born, and yes, we die, and that's it, and we take nothing with us. So, an infinite leader has to make that choice. There is a choice. Do you want to be the leader who is here for the infinite game? Do you want to take the systems of the previous years and build upon it? Not compete with them. Build upon it, make it a better place. Do you want to be the leader who will be remembered after you've left? Do you want to have a just cause in the school, in the institution, or wherever you are? Do you want to be the kind of friend who's remembered? Or do you need to be a boss? Do you want to be the kind of leader who's made a difference in the lives of others? That when you leave after a very short time, no doubt it's a very short time to make a difference, but when you leave, have you bought into the very ethos and the just cause of the institution, and you want to be remembered as having made a difference? Everyone will die, let alone leave school, which is the short-term and narrow thing. But are you going to make a difference? Are you going to be the person who's here for the infinite game? The choice is yours and all of us. Thank you very much. We'll move on with what we are really here for. Not really a speech or a lecture, but we are here for the most important part of this entire ceremony, which is the investiture of our captains and prefects. And indeed, it's a privilege for me to be able to pin on the badges and invest them in their offices. As always, we'll start with the investiture of the school captain for the girls, and I'll request Olivia Mary Raj to please come up on stage. In the name of your head, your staff, and your school, I confer on you, Olivia Mary Raj, the special honor and office of captain. I charge you to carry out your responsibilities as God shall give you wisdom and courage, showing neither fear nor favor toward any, but with sincerity and high purpose. During your year of responsibility, may you know the help of God and the cooperation of those you govern and serve. Will you, God giving you help, promise loyalty to your staff and your school. Remembering that where a choice of loyalty is necessary, your first loyalty must be given to your principal and staff. Will you therefore promise this loyalty, knowing that in this office, though there is separation and responsibility, yet there is honor, opportunity, and the privilege of great service?
In the name of God and of our school, I promise so, sir.
The investiture of the school captain for the boys, I'll request Granth Arora to please come up on stage. In the name of your head, your staff and your school, I confer on you, Granth Arora, the special honor and office of captain. I charge you to carry out your responsibilities as God will give you wisdom and courage, showing neither fear nor favor toward any, but with sincerity and high purpose. During your year of responsibility, may you know the help of God and the cooperation of those you govern and serve. Will you, God giving you help, promise loyalty to your staff and your school, remembering that where a choice of loyalty is necessary, your first loyalty must be given to your principal and staff. Will you therefore promise this loyalty, knowing that in this office, though there is separation and responsibility, yet there is honor, opportunity, and the privilege of a great service?
In the name of God and of our school, I promise to serve.
The school vice captain for the girls, I'll request Angirma Burinbaya to please come up on stage. In the name of your head, your staff and your school, I confer on you, Angirma Burinbaya, the special honor and office of vice captain. I charge you to carry out your responsibilities as God shall give you wisdom and courage, showing neither fear nor favor toward any, but with sincerity and high purpose. During your year of responsibility, may you know the help of God and the cooperation of those you govern and serve. Will you, God giving you help, promise loyalty to your staff, your captain, and your school, remembering that where a choice of loyalty is necessary, your first loyalty must be given to your principal and staff. Will you therefore promise this loyalty, knowing that in this office, though there is separation and responsibility, yet there is honor, opportunity, and the privilege of a great service?
In the name of God and of our school, I promise so, sir.
I'll request Joshua Quintal to please come up on stage. In the name of your head, your staff, and your school, I confer on you, Joshua Quintal, the special honor and office of Vice Captain. I charge you to carry out your responsibilities as God shall give you wisdom and courage, showing neither fear nor favor toward any, but with sincerity and high purpose. During your year of responsibility, may you know the help of God and the cooperation of those you govern and serve. Will you, God giving you help, promise loyalty to your staff, your captain, and your school, remembering that where a choice of loyalty is necessary, your first loyalty must be given to your principal and staff. Will you therefore promise this loyalty, knowing that in this office, though there is separation and responsibility, yet there is honor, opportunity, and the privilege of a great service?
In the name of God and of our school, I promise so to serve.
Before proceeding with the investiture of the prefects, our choir will present a special song, Now is the Time. Thank you so much, choir. That was beautiful. We'll continue with the investiture ceremony, and I'll request the prefects for the girls to please come up on stage. Hansika Mutneja, Divyanshi Dhaiya, Antara Gupta, Riya Bisht, Niyati Agarwal, Tenzin Chosen, Tanisha Saha, Tenzin Norzin, Kanika Bansal, Ridhima Gupta, Shimei Cruz, Shirali Khanduri, Aditi Soni, Himanshi Khater, Ananya Goyal, and Nancy Bhatt. Please come up. In the name of your head, your staff, and your school, I confer on you, Hansika Mutneja, Divyanshi Dhaiya, Antara Gupta, Riya Bisht, Niyati Agarwal, Tenzin Chosen, Tanisha Saha, Tenzin Norzin, Kanika Bansal, Ridhima Gupta, Shimei Cruz, Shirali Khanduri, Aditi Soni, Himanshi Khater, Ananya Goyal, and Nancy Bhatt, the special honor and office of prefect. I charge you to carry out your responsibilities as God shall give you wisdom and courage, showing neither fear nor favor toward any, but with sincerity and high purpose. During your year of responsibility, may you know the help of God and the cooperation of those you govern and serve. Will you, God giving you help, promise loyalty to your staff, your captains, and your school, remembering that where a choice of loyalty is necessary, your first loyalty must be given to your principal and staff. Will you therefore promise this loyalty, knowing that in this office, though there is separation and responsibility, yet there is honor, opportunity, and the privilege of a great service?
In the name of God and of our school, we promise so to serve.
इसको जूम करके इसको ट्रेन कर देना चला। हाँ मैंने वही सोचा था, वही करवाई गए।
For the boys, Tenzing Seton, Aman Maskara, Arihant, Parth Kanodia, Ranveer Shahi, Arsh Bhatt, Nawang Tofden, Kritin Garg, Sarthak Jain and Shrimit Roy Chaudhary to please come up on stage. In the name of your head, your staff and your school, I confer on you Tenzin Seton, Aman Maskara, Arihant, Parth Kanodia, Ranveer Shahi, Arsh Bhatt, Nawang Tofden, Kritin Garg, Sarthak Jain and Shrimit Roy Chaudhary the special honor and office of prefect. I charge you to carry out your responsibilities as God shall give you wisdom and courage, showing neither fear nor favor toward any, but with sincerity and high purpose. During your year of responsibility, may you know the help of God and the cooperation of those you govern and serve. Will you, God giving you help, promise loyalty to your staff, your captains and your school? Remembering that where a choice of loyalty is necessary, your first loyalty must be given to your principal and staff. Will you therefore promise this loyalty, knowing that in this office, though there is separation and responsibility, yet there is honor, opportunity, and the privilege of a great service?
In the name of God and of our school, we promise so to serve.
जॉब चली गई। मुझे डर हो रहा है साउंड आ गया आ गया। अब कैप का तो यही तो नहीं हुआ था, इसमें दिखा था और उसमें साउंड जाने फेल फेल।
It truly is a privilege for the school to have you here, and we look forward to you making a difference in the lives of everyone and taking our school forward. So congratulations once again, and God bless all of you. Please stand for the school song and national anthem.
Wynberg-Allen, shout it loud and long. Our beloved alma mater, come and join our song. Lift the banner onward, upward, hearts and voices high. Shout Excelsior, our motto, let it reach the sky. Come and wear our colors glorious, red and green and gold. To the school be ever loyal, and for truth be bold. Lift the banner onward, upward, hearts and voices high. Shout Excelsior, our motto, let it reach the sky. Let forbear our children's struggle, bearing out shall win. In the foes we learn to vanquish and to conquer sin. Lift the banner onward, upward, hearts and voices high. Shout Excelsior, our motto, let it reach the sky. Ever now for Wynberg-Allen, back the shadows roll. And God's Holy Spirit watching, guide us to a goal. Lift the banner onward, upward, hearts and voices high. Shout Excelsior, our motto, let it reach the sky. Jana Mana Vinayak Jaya He, Bharat Bhagya Vidhata, Punjab Sindh Gujarat Maratha. तिरंगा तब शुभ नामे जागे, तब शुभ आशीष मांगे, गाए तब जय गाथा। जन गण मंगल दायक जय हे, भारत भाग्य विधाता। जय हे जय हे जय हे, जय 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 हे।
रुक जा रुक जा।